Good morning, guys. Today's topic is exception handling. I'll tell you how we can write, how we can handle exceptions, and what is an exception, what is the difference between an exception and an error, what are the advantages of writing exception in Python. I'll tell you all of these topics today. In 5 minutes, I'll start the class, guys. Okay guys, let's start the class. What is an exception? What actually exception is? What is an error? Before knowing the exception, you have to know the error. When we haven't write the syntax correctly, syntax based on our Python rules, when we haven't write the syntax rules, it will throw, the compiler or the interpreter will throw an error. Why? Because the syntax is not correct. The compiler couldn't understand what we have written, so it will throw an error. So if you know that we can calculate 0 by 1, 0 by 1 will refer to 0, will gives us answer 0. If you want to calculate 1 by 0, 1 divided by 0, it is infinity. So if we keep the type of calculations inside the code, inside the source code, it couldn't understand the error. That's not a syntax error, that's a logical error. Actually 1 by 0 is a logical error, so it will throw, it couldn't understand. Actually when we are executing the when we are executing the code that we have written, the source code that we have written, it will throw an error. It needs execution time. The exception, the error, if we take 0 by 1 by 0, the exception, that is the error, that we calculated, we get 0, 1 by 0 is infinity. That error will get in runtime. So when we are executing a program, if we have any syntax errors, it will throw an error. If we haven't had any syntax errors, it will execute normally. When we are running the program, at runtime it will executes the logic of the program. When we are executing the program, it will see just the syntax. It will checks just the syntax of the program. If every syntax is correct, it will go and run, and the interpreter will interpret the program. When we are interpreting it, if we have any logical error, it at runtime it will throw an error. That is exception. How we can handle the exception? We have three types of blocks to handle the exception that we get in logical time. So this is about, the first line is about the try block. The try block lets you test a block of code for errors. If you think that the code that you have written will have errors, you can keep that code in a try block to handle. If you have any errors in your try block, it will throw that error to the accept block. Then the code present in the accept block will handle the error. The accept block lets you handle the error. The error thrown by the try block will be handled by the accept block. We have a finally block also. The finally block lets you execute code regardless of the result of the try accept block. If the try block and accept block has executed or not, will not be considered by finally block. After all this, all the try block and accept block, finally block will be executed. That is about finally block. Let's see few examples you can easily understand. So here I have written a statement called print of x. So guess it, what will be its output, what will be the output. Here I haven't defined the value of x. I haven't defined it with double quotes, enclosing it in double quotes. So if we enclose this in double quotes, it will take it as a string. I haven't enclosed the x in double quotes, so it will take it as a variable. So I haven't defined the value of the variable. So let's execute and see. So it throws an error. Why? Because name error. I haven't defined the value. I haven't defined the name x. Name x is not defined. This is the error that we get. I haven't defined the value, the variable x, and I haven't defined the value of x. So it's throwing error. If you defined the value x equals to 10, this is an assignment operator. I'm saving it, I'm executing it. So we got the answer time. It hasn't thrown any type of errors here. Why? Because I have defined value of x. In previous example, I haven't defined it, so it has thrown error. X is not defined. So this is an exception. I haven't write any type of syntax errors here. I haven't write wrong syntax. It's when I executed it, it thrown an error in runtime. So this is called exception. So let's see how we can write an exception. How we can handle exception by using try and except block. This is try block. By using try keyword and by writing a colon, we can write a try block. Here also we have to follow the indentation in Python. Everywhere we have to follow the indentation. I haven't defined the value of x here. I wrote the print statement here. Here if you execute the try block, it will throw an exception to accept block. So the accept block will handle the exception by writing a print statement inside it. An exception occurred. A print statement, by writing a print statement, you can know if in your code you have an exception or not by writing a print statement inside an accept block. So this is how we can write try block and accept block. At print statement inside a try block has thrown an error. Why? Because we haven't defined the value of x. We haven't defined the variable x. So it will throw an error to accept block. The accept block has handled the exception by printing this statement. An error occurred. This is how we can handle an exception. Many errors. If you have numerous errors, you can write number of except blocks. So here in the previous example we got a name error. We can specify the particular exception also. You can specify here a particular exception also. Here is the name error. Some other may have a different types of errors also. Type error. Type error means data type. If we have used, if we wants to use a float value, but data type of the value is integer, so it will throw an error called type error. So that is a type error. This is a name error. Name error means we haven't defined the value, we haven't defined the variable here, so it throw a name error. It will execute variable x is not defined. Why? Because it is name error. It will execute the except block with the name error. If we have any other, if we don't have a name error, so let's see. So I'll write like this. I haven't write any type of, if we don't have any type of name error in our try block, it won't execute this accept block. It will execute this accept block. I'm executing it. So it is a syntax error. It is a syntax error. I have to write a print statement here. If we have written any type of syntax error, it will show like this. Before I'm saving it, I'm executing it, it is showing a syntax error. When we are executing it, if we haven't, if the ideally haven't shown the syntax error like this, every syntax in our program is correct. We have written has already has correct, and if the error shown when we run the program, it is an exception. I'm saving it and I'm executing it. It haven't printed anything. Why? Because this is not a syntax error. First of all, we haven't write any syntax error. We haven't write any exception error also. If we write x, we haven't defined the variable of x. So when we execute it, Control S. So the variable x is not defined. Why? Because it is a name error. Except with the name error block has executed. If you wants to write a type error, this is a name error. This is a name error block, except block. I'll show you. There is an example. So let's see how we can write else statement for try block and except block. If we execute it and see, here the else statement, how the else statement will work is, if the try block is executed, if the try block is executed, the else statement, here the else statement is for accept block. If the accept block hasn't executed, the else statement will be, the else condition will be, the statement present in the else statement will be executed. If the accept block hasn't executed, the else statement will be executed. So here I'm writing hello. So the try block has executed. Except block hasn't executed. In the try block we don't have any type of errors. If we have any errors inside the try block, the except block will be executed. So if we because we don't have any type of errors, it doesn't have any type of errors in try block executed, it hasn't executed the except block. By the way, it has executed the else else block. That's why we got nothing went wrong statement. We got a nothing went wrong statement as well. We don't have any doesn't have any errors on try block. So it has printed hello. So accept block hasn't executed. Why? Because we don't have any we doesn't have any errors in try block code. So else block has executed. Let's see. Finally keyword as same as try block and except block. We use finally keyword. We can write the syntax of the finally keyword ends with ends with the colon. The finally keyword what the finally block can do, regardless of irrespective of the execution of the try block and except block, the finally block will be executed. If you see it, here the print of x is we have if you execute it, we will get a name error. It doesn't x has not defined, the variable x has not defined, that is an error here. The accept block has executed. If the try block is executed or not, if the accept block is executed or not, that will not considered by the finally block. The finally block will be executed. Here we get, here the try block the code inside the try block hasn't executed. Why? Because there is an error. Here the accept block has executed. If I write hello, control S, I'm saving it. So now the print statement present in the try block has executed because we don't have any error. It doesn't have any error. The accept block has not executed. Then also the finally block has executed. That is how finally block works. So there is a simple example. Here I'm opening a file. In try block, I'm f equals to, I'm opening a file. Okay. It doesn't have any type of file called demo file.txt. F dot write off. I'm writing something. I'm writing these things in that file. So I'll get an exception. Why? Because I don't have the file called demo file.txt. So I haven't write any mode here. You have to write a write mode or read mode or append mode or create mode. You have to write any one of the mode. I haven't write any type of modes here. I haven't represent any type of modes here. Why? So that it will throw an error to accept block. So the print statement present in the accept block will be executed. Finally, the file that I have opened will be closed here. So let's see what will happen. It is throwing an error. Why? Because in the finally here I don't have any type of file called demo file.txt. Haven't represent the mode of the file. So it it will throw an exception to except block. So it has executed. So something went wrong when writing to the file. Here I have written f dot close. I haven't opened the file. Without opening the file, without having the file, how can I close that file? So it has thrown an error, a name error called name f is not defined. Compiler doesn't know a name with f. Okay, it has thrown an error. So see here, this is a rise keyword. What is a rise keyword? As a Python developers, we can choose to throw an exception if a condition occurs. In the previous errors, in the previous exceptions, last statement, if you observe a last statement, will have a name error, a type error like this. We have that exception names. We can choose here what the program is. Here in the x variable, I have stored -1. If x less than 0, if this condition occurs in our program, we can raise an exception. We can write our own exception. This will be gives us like an error. Sorry, no number below 0 will be accepted. We can write this. We can write this statement to throw an exception. So let's execute it. You can understand easily. So see here, exception. What is the exception? In the previous examples, we get a type error. We get a name error here. X is not defined like that in here. Here now in this example, we are raising an exception. So it get the statement that we have written in the program. Sorry, no number below 0 has came as an exception. So we can write our own exceptions in Python by using rise keyword. Okay. If you see here, this is a type error. Here I have stored a string inside a variable x, and if I have written an if statement, if conditional statement, if not type of x is a string, is not integer. How a string will be an integer? String won't be an integer, so it will throw a false. So if not, so type of x is a string. So if not, type of x is int, yes, type of x is not an integer, so we can raise an error here, raise a type error. Only integers are allowed. So let's exit control. So we get our own exception type error. Only integers are allowed. Only integers are allowed. Only integers are allowed. We can write our own exceptions in Python by using a rise keyword. Okay guys, this is for today's class.